From transatlantic slave trade to trying to subdue black Africans, white supremacists and colonial powers came to know one thing: black Africans are a threat for them. That's because they resist cruelty, fight against it, and remain united, becoming a close-knit community. They never allowed colonial masters to devalue black culture and customs. No matter how hard white supremacists tried to provoke black Africans to give up their identity and accept white lifestyle, they never succeeded. This strengthened the white supremacist belief that as black Africans cannot be competed with, they should be considered a threat to their own survival. If they were to live and maintain their hegemony and privileges, black Africans had to be chained, subjugated, killed, and beaten. Welcome to a new episode of Black Culture Diary, a channel where we talk about less-known and hidden black history, culture, arts, and lost civilization. We scrutinize history here to bring the black culture back on the surface again. We would like to thank you, the members of our community who have been watching our videos and supporting us. For those who are new, we encourage you to join our community in supporting and building a strong black history education medium. This episode is a sequel of the first episode we had created on why black Africans were historically viewed as a threat. We want you to know it to really understand the source of hostility. Let's get started. Number 1. Intelligence. Throughout history, black people have faced enduring prejudice and discrimination stemming from racist beliefs and stereotypes, particularly regarding their intelligence. They were considered inferior in intelligence. Yet the reality was opposite. Racists fear black intelligence. However, the harmful misconceptions have been wielded to justify oppressing, marginalizing, and excluding black communities. During slavery era, slave owners and advocates of slavery propagated the false notion that black people were intellectually and morally inferior. These baseless beliefs served as justification for enslaving black people, arguing that they lacked the capacity to govern themselves or participate equally in society. Scientific racism also played its role. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, the rise of scientific racism, driven by flawed and biased studies, perpetuated the unfounded idea that black people were inherently less intelligent than white individuals. Pseudoscientific theories like phrenology and eugenics were employed to bolster these racist ideologies, further oppressing black communities. Yet white supremacists were playing their role to keep black Africans away from education. Even after the abolition of slavery, black people in the United States faced segregation and the enforcement of Jim Crow laws, which promoted racial separation and denied them access to quality education and equal opportunities. These segregationist policies were based on the misguided belief that black people were intellectually inferior and needed to be kept apart from white society. Number 2. Collective power and unity. Whatever challenged white supremacist hegemony was considered a threat. Unity and collective power the black communities held were a major contributor to this threat. Hence, white supremacists always tried to keep them distributed. White supremacists had already seen how powerful black people can be when they are united. During the transatlantic slavery era, enslaved black individuals resisted and revolted to gain their freedom, which caused fear among slave owners and authorities who worried about losing control over their labor force. The Haitian Revolution is a significant example where enslaved Africans united to overthrow their oppressors and establish an independent nation. In the 20th century, black people in the United States fought against racial segregation and systemic racism through peaceful protests and civil disobedience during the civil rights movement. These actions frightened those who wanted to maintain discriminatory policies and segregation. Throughout history, black communities have supported and stood by each other during difficult times, posing a threat to those who sought to marginalize and divide them. Additionally, black people engaging in political activism, organizing voter registration drives, and advocating for political representation threatened those who wanted to suppress their political influence. Black workers actively participated in labor movements and trade unions, advocating for better working conditions, fair wages, and workers' rights, challenging those in positions of power. Establishing black-owned businesses, schools, and community organizations contributed to economic independence and social progress. All this further exacerbated the white supremacist belief of black people being a threat. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Number 3. Black people. Immigration. There were times when black people faced challenging times and they had to immigrate to other countries. Yet racists feared that they would use too many public services and be a threat to their host nations. This fear came from long-held prejudices and unfair rules that discriminated against them. During the colonial era, black individuals who tried to immigrate to Western countries encountered harsh laws and policies that were meant to stop them from coming. Sadly, these rules were based on racist ideas, and some people wanted to keep their countries the same, without any diversity. At different times in history, there were worries that black immigrants would take away jobs and resources from the people already living in their new countries. This fear made racists view them as a burden on public services, even though there was no real evidence for that. The saddest part of these stories is that people often believed negative stereotypes and mistreated black immigrants. In some places, they faced segregation and discrimination, which made it hard for them to get good education, homes, and jobs. Sometimes certain politicians and groups took advantage of these fears and prejudices. They used these ideas to convince others that black immigrants were a threat to the country's welfare and public services. These politicians wanted to create unfair rules that made it difficult for black people to come and live in their new homes. Number 4, historic suppression will blast. One day, black Africans were marginalized and suppressed, yet they were seen as a looming threat. And it all stemmed from the cruel suppression they endured and the anxiety that this oppression might lead to a powerful uprising. The echoes of slavery, colonialism, and racial discrimination created deep anxiety among those racists holding positions of power. They worried that the oppressed black population could one day rise as a united force, demanding justice and equality. Racists knew what they had done, and now they feared the consequence. During the dark days of slavery, black people endured unspeakable horrors. Inhumane treatment, forced labor, and brutal punishments were the norm. Yet, they showed an extraordinary spirit of resilience, resistance, and an unwavering yearning for freedom. Acts of defiance and daring slave revolts, like the legendary Haitian Revolution, shook the very foundation of the oppressive system, intensifying the fear that black people might join forces to challenge their oppressors. The scars of suppression and discrimination were etched deep into the heart and souls of black communities, driving them to strive for equality and social transformation. The fear of possible retribution and a determination to prevent any uprising fueled oppressive policies and systems designed to keep black people marginalized and powerless. Number 5, black people never abandoned their culture and identity. Black people stood strong and proud, holding tight to their cherished culture despite facing immense challenges. The world was not always kind to them, as white supremacists tried relentlessly to erase or change their unique identity. But these black communities showed remarkable resilience and determination, refusing to let go of their cultural heritage. Racists came to know that no matter how black people are provoked to give up their identity, they will not. And if this did not happen, the black people would be a threat, as they will not try to follow the white supremacist culture. Even during the days of slavery, when chains bound their bodies, enslaved black people clung fiercely to their cultural practices, traditions, and languages. They found strength in preserving their identity, resisting the dehumanizing effects of slavery. Slave owners and white supremacists saw this unwavering commitment as a threat to their control and power, fearing that these acts of defiance might disrupt their vile plans to strip enslaved people of their humanity and treat them as mere commodities. Through the oppressive conditions of slavery and the painful Jim Crow era that followed, black communities carried their cultural heritage forward from one generation to the next. Music, art, dance, oral traditions, and religious practices became the heart and soul of their identity and sense of community. Their refusal to abandon these cherished traditions was like a powerful rebellion against white supremacy, a bold statement that they would not surrender to the dominant culture. In the face of segregation, discrimination, and attempts to force assimilation, black people never turned their backs on their culture. Instead, they embraced it as a source of strength and solidarity, forming close-knit communities that uplifted and supported one another. This unity became a thorn in the side of white supremacists, who trembled at the thought of a strong and proud black community, one that could challenge their twisted racial hierarchy and oppressive systems. Number 6. Black people resisted and defeated white supremacists. In the dark days of slavery, black individuals faced unimaginable hardships, bound by chains of bondage. But deep within them, a fire burned bright, a fire of resistance. The Haitian Revolution stands as a powerful testament to their bravery, as they rose up against their oppressors and shook the very foundations of the unjust system. Even after slavery's chains were broken, the struggle for equality was far from over. Black communities confronted discrimination, segregation, and violence, yet they refused to be silenced. The notorious Ku Klux Klan, a terrorist and racist organization against black people, was unleashing atrocities. It was hanging and murdering black people throughout the United States. Once again, black communities gathered and launched an armed resistance against them. But the story doesn't end there. Black people, instead of crumbling under the weight of adversity, built strong and supportive communities. They uplifted each other, creating a bond that shielded them from external threats. This unwavering resilience shattered the illusions of those seeking to oppress them, leaving them with trembling hearts. Throughout history, black people have proven time and again that they refuse to be subjected to injustice. Their spirit and resistance have challenged and threatened the very core of racial discrimination. The struggle for equality continues to this day, as black individuals stand tall, declaring that they will never accept domination. Do you think white supremacists will stop viewing black Africans as a threat? Don't you think that hostility towards black Africans exists to this day, as there are still cases being reported? Let us know your take on the fact that black Africans should consolidate their powers like intelligence, unity, close-knit communities, and collective fight against atrocities to stay strong. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.